Have you ever wondered what is it that separates the people that succeed on YouTube from the people that don't quite succeed on YouTube? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about 5 key signs of potential that you can often see in smaller YouTube channels. And so hopefully you can get a sense of how many of these things do you have for your own channel, and then how many of these can you apply to your own channel if you want. Hey friends, welcome back to Creator Club, the ongoing series where we explore strategies to start and grow and monetize your YouTube channel and create a business so that you can get to what I call the 3 Fs, which is fun, fulfillment, and of course, financial freedom. If we haven't yet met, then hello, my name is Ale, and I've been making YouTube videos on this channel since 2017. And since then, I've been documenting every step of my journey from being a broke medical student to working full-time as a doctor, to becoming a 7-figure entrepreneur, to becoming a best-selling author. And since 2020, I've also been running an online community called the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, where over 20,000 students have taken my courses on how to start, grow, and monetize their YouTube channels, and we've had loads of incredible success stories along the way. Now, I'm gonna be honest, we've had loads of students who've gone through our courses and programs who have succeeded on YouTube, but we also have loads of students who've gone through our courses and programs and have quote, failed on YouTube, i.e. they've quit or they haven't been consistent or the channels haven't really taken off. And one thing I'm always interested in is what is it that separates these two different groups? What are the factors that cause one YouTube channel to succeed and thrive and help them quit their job or whatever, while a similar sort of person, sometimes even with similar amounts of knowledge, tries to do the same thing but then fails? And so that's what I've tried to condense into this video, into these 5 key signs of potential that you can often spot in smaller YouTube channels. It's worth bearing in mind that each of these signs is valuable on its own, but if you can stack these up, it's like stacking the deck in your favor. Success on YouTube is probabilistic, there are no guarantees, but the more of these things your channel has, the more likely it is to succeed on YouTube. Anyway, let's dive in. Okay, so for the first sign of potential, let's take a look at this YouTube channel. This is History Meets Finance, and it's run by a guy called Nazmul, who is actually a student in our accelerator program. And there's one question that I want you to think about if you just glance at this for like 3 seconds, which is, does this channel look amateur or does this channel look professional? What about Matt Diavella's channel? Does this look amateur or professional? What about Pickup Limes? Does this channel look amateur or professional? What about Chris Williamson, who incidentally is also an alumni of the Part-Time YouTuber Academy? Does his channel look amateur or professional? Hopefully, you've broadly clocked that all of these channels look pretty professional. And a fun thing to do would be to take your YouTube channel, assuming you have one, and show it to a few people and just ask at first glance, does it look amateur or does it look professional? This is a fun thing that I like to do when I'm giving talks about growing on YouTube, when I'm doing live sessions for my YouTuber Academy, when I'm giving talks in real life. If someone asks a question about, hey, why isn't my channel growing? With their permission, I'll often try and share it on the screen, and I'll just ask everyone in the chat or people in the audience, who thinks this is amateur, who thinks this is professional? And immediately, within a millisecond, people can tell, oh, this looks professional versus, ugh, this kind of looks a bit crap. And the key point here, which is the first sign of potential in smaller YouTube channels, is how good does the packaging look? First impressions on YouTube really count. The thumbnail is like a big part of what people see. Do your thumbnails actually look good? Do they look professional? Do they look like it's a video that you would want to watch? When you look at a channel at first glance, does this look like something that's well put together? This is not what channels used to look like back in 2010. Back in 2010, you could just get views on YouTube by just slapping any old video on YouTube, not worrying about the thumbnail, not even sure if thumbnails were a thing. But the game has really changed over time. YouTube is increasingly becoming more and more like Netflix. Viewers are increasingly having more and more of an expectation of high quality. Now, high quality doesn't necessarily mean fancy cameras and fancy editing and stuff, but just a quality channel. And the packaging of a channel, in particular the thumbnails and also the channel banner, really communicates, is this quality or is this kind of a bit amateur and a bit crap? And so in terms of a practical tip, what I would recommend is that it's worth spending a little bit of time once you've made at least your first, let's say 7 videos. It's worth spending a little bit of time trying to design a cohesive look for your channel. One thing I often recommend our students in the YouTuber Academy is to create a channel mood board where, maybe it's like a Pinterest board or a Notion gallery or whatever, where anytime you see something that catches your eye, if it's a channel banner or a thumbnail or anything like that, you save it to that particular board. This, for example, is one of my Pinterest board on thumbnail styles, and whenever I find a good thumbnail, I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. I just save it to this Pinterest board so that I can then get inspiration for the thumbnail designs on my own channel. The other thing you can do if you want a cohesive look for your channel is just go on Canva and just download some free thumbnail design templates. Now, having said all of that, and for every point in this video, I'm going to put a bit of a warning, which is that if you have a tendency to overthink things, please don't let the overthinking about your thumbnails and your channel banner and stuff stop you from actually making the content. The most important thing is consistency. And one thing I often say to my students in the YouTuber Academy, who all have a tendency to overthink because, perfectionists and people who are quite analytical and whatever, it's like you could spend ages trying to design the perfect thumbnail, but especially if you're just starting out, which you probably are if you're watching a video like this one, especially if you're just starting out, the key thing is to just make the videos. And once you've decided what your upload schedule is going to be, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's every other week, maybe it's 3 times a month, whatever that thing is, that's like the foundational consistency of your channel. And then all of the overthinking about the stuff, thumbnails, channel design, etc., everything we're going to talk about in this video, all of that should stand on the foundation of consistency. Don't think that like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to make another video until I have perfected my thumbnail style. You're never going to perfect your thumbnail style. It's always going to be something that's always evolving. If you look back to any of your favorite YouTubers and you scroll to their oldest videos, you can see how shitty their thumbnails look. It's just bad. And the thumbnail style evolves over time. If you look at my thumbnails from back in the day, you can see I was doing music videos, and then I was doing travel vlogs, and then I was trying to make an app which completely flopped and failed, and like no one ever watched those videos. And eventually, over a period of years, I landed on a thumbnail style. And even now, we're still experimenting with everything around thumbnails and A/B testing things and stuff. So the key thing that I would recommend is that, yes, you want to think about your channel banner, and you can probably just get a template from Canva to just whip one up, and you want to be thinking about your thumbnails, but you don't want to overthink this stuff to the point that you actually don't publish the videos, because it's publishing the videos that's going to help you improve, especially if you are just starting out or if you're earlier on in your journey. If you're looking for more practical tips, I have a completely free YouTube growth scorecard. This is a completely free online self-assessment quiz type thing that me and my team have designed, where we looked at like what are the factors that make YouTube channels succeed. And so it's split up into 5 different parts, and it'll ask you a few questions for each one, and you essentially rate yourself on how well you're doing each of these different things. And at the end of it, it'll give you a personalized report that will show you which areas you're strong in as it relates to your YouTube channel and creator business, and which areas you're weak in. And it'll also give you a bunch of free resource recommendations to improve specific things. That'll be linked down below if you want to check it out, the YouTube Growth Scorecard. All right, so we talked about the importance of packaging, which is the most important thing when it comes to actually earning the click, because no one's going to watch your video if they don't click on your video first. So now, because your packaging is good, or because you've delivered a reasonable promise in your title and thumbnail, let's say someone has clicked on your video. And this is where we move on to point number 2. All right, so key sign of potential in smaller channels number 2 is how much effort goes into the first 30 seconds. This is sometimes referred to as the hook. I personally like to think of it as the promise. And as an example, let's look at this video from Elizabeth Phillips.
I think you were taught to memorize things wrong. Since we first start to speak, we begin to get tested on our memory. I've sat hundreds of exams, memorized tens of pages of scripts for theatre, learned thousands of new concepts in 4 years of medical school. And while this all looked effortlessly impressive, the truth is, beneath it all, this girl actually has a terrible memory. So
Elizabeth is a friend and former team member of mine who is also an alumnus of the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, incidentally. In fact, funny story about this. The first time we ran the first cohort of our YouTuber Academy back in like late 2020, Elizabeth had not yet started a YouTube channel at that point. She was working for me as my part-time personal assistant, but she was helping out with the operations for this course. And she'd been wanting to start a YouTube channel for absolutely ages. And then because we were seeing these hundreds of students who were taking our YouTuber Academy for the first time and who were starting their channels and overcoming their emotional obstacles and everything and making the videos, all of that was super inspiring to Elizabeth. And she was like, you know what? All these students are starting a YouTube channel. Why don't I also start a YouTube channel? And then her YouTube channel absolutely blew up over time. And eventually she left my team to continue doing medicine and her YouTube channel because it was just a success at that point. But one thing that I've always admired about Elizabeth's videos is the amount of effort that goes into the first 30 seconds. Now, why do the first 30 seconds matter so much? Well, as a YouTuber, if you have looked at any of your retention curves in your analytics, you'll see that they are like a bloop. People click on the video and then immediately like 30-40% of the people will just click off because they realize the video is not for them, and then you slowly lose viewers over time. And so really, your first 30 seconds are when the vast majority of people will actually see the stuff that you've created. Whereas if you've got a 20-minute long video, maybe there's only like, I don't know, 20% of people, 15% of people watching right through to the end. So any effort you're putting into like the second half of the video is almost effort that is wasted, or at least less leveraged than the effort that you might be putting into the first 30 seconds. When someone clicks on a video, in those first 30 seconds, they want to know, is this going to be a good use of time? They want to know, is this video actually going to deliver on the promise that has been set with the title and thumbnail? And most people aren't thinking this consciously, but it's like a subconscious thing. It's like, is this currently worth my time? One thing to remember is that as YouTubers, yes, the videos we produce are completely free, but people are paying for our videos. They're not paying with their money, but they are paying with something arguably even more valuable, which is their time and attention. And so viewers just want to know, like you want to know when you watch YouTube videos, is this actually going to be worth my time? And that is why the first 30 seconds are absolutely crucial. Here's another example. This is a student, Han, who is currently a student in our accelerator program, and this is one of her opening shots.
Imagine waking up tomorrow and noticing something is different. You found yourself unusually sensitive to numbers. Upon arriving at school, you're met with a math test. Quickly scanning through the exam, you found that all the questions in your head simply make sense. and the answers just come to you. This is definitely not my experience.
As I record this video has 1.4 million views, and again, if you just see how much effort's gone into the first 30 seconds, you can immediately tell, okay, this is a video that's probably going to be worth watching. And so that is one of the key signs of potential that I always look for in new YouTubers. It's always one of the things I encourage people to do as part of my YouTuber Academy and Accelerator program. Spend a lot of time focusing on those first 30 seconds. Let's say it takes you, I don't know, 4 hours to edit a video if you're doing your own editing. I would say probably 2 of those hours should be on the first minute of the video. And probably 1 of those hours just on the first 30 seconds, because those first 30 seconds are disproportionately valuable and disproportionately leveraged in that just more people are going to see those first 30 seconds than are going to watch the second half of your video. All right, so let's talk about a practical tip on this front. So something that I often struggle with is overthinking the first 30 seconds. I know that the first 30 seconds are really important, and I know that my job is to hook the viewer's attention and all that kind of stuff. And in the back of my mind, I see the retention curve plummeting whenever I'm talking. And when I hit record, the fact that the first 30 seconds are the first thing that I say means that it's a very heavy lift. Even for this video, for example, it took me 10 minutes to actually record the first 30 seconds because it just feels like such a heavy lift each time. It's like, oh, I really have to think about retention. Oh, what if people drop off, etc., etc. A lot of overthinking goes into it, and a lot of pain, at least in my process for making YouTube videos, and I know this is true of others as well, comes from appreciating the importance of the first 30 seconds. So, practical tip, and this is something that I've been doing for the last year or so, is that I film the first 30 seconds at the start and I try not to overthink it, because I know that at the end of the video, at the end of my filming session, I'm going to redo the first 30 seconds. Sometimes if I'm really overthinking and struggling with analysis paralysis and all that kind of stuff, which I still suffer from even though I've been doing this shit for 7 years and made over 1,000 videos, sometimes if I'm really struggling and it's just, things are just not coming out, I'll just launch straight into it. I'll say, all right, point number 1 is blah, 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 packaging. And I'll just go straight into the video, knowing that once I've finished filming the video, and now I feel good about myself because I finished filming the video and I feel like I'm on a bit of a roll and the gunk has come out of the system, I will film the hook at the end of the video. So this is a practical tip. If you struggle with hooks, if you find yourself overthinking them, you can try filming them at the end of the video session. And if you do that, let me know in the comments how you get on. Oh, one final thing while we're here is that I don't like to think of it mentally as I'm hooking the audience's attention, because hooking sounds a little bit aggressive. It sounds like I'm a fisherman trying to hook a fish or whatever. Instead, I like to think of it as a promise. What is the promise that I'm making to the audience? And promise just feels a bit more chill. It feels a bit more nice. It doesn't feel like I'm being all aggressive and salesman-y and trying to hook their attention. I'm just making a promise. So maybe if you struggle with the word hook, a lot of creators talk about hook. Try replacing the word with promise and see if that changes the energy with which you approach the thing. Okay, so at this point, we have earned the click by having good packaging and a decent title and thumbnail. People have actually clicked on the video. We've put our best foot forward in that the first 30 seconds are nice and well edited and are showing the audience that they're about to be delivered on the promise that was created in the title and the thumbnail. Let's move on to key sign of potential number 3. And for this, I want to show you an example of a creator called Aman.
In this video, I'm going to break down a 4-step formula you can use to guarantee that you get a return offer from any software engineering internship. If you follow this equation, you will land that full-time job you've been dreaming about.
Okay, so that is a pretty good promise. It clearly shows that what he's about to say in this video is going to be high value given the title and thumbnail.
My name is Aman. I'm a former software engineer and current career coach. In college, I landed 6 high-paying software engineering internships, and the day I graduated college, I started at a 6-figure software engineering full-time job. On this channel, I help you land your dream job in tech.
On this channel, I help you land your dream job in tech. And as part of his introduction, he's got a bunch of flexing credentials about, hey, here's what I did, here's what I did, here's why you should listen to me. This is great. This is key sign of potential number 3, which is a clear value proposition. Most channels that succeed have somewhat of a clear value proposition behind them. It's obvious who the channel is for and why they should bother watching the thing. Especially for smaller channels, it's very hard to build a YouTube channel from the ground up where you're trying to be everything to everyone. If you were trying to create a YouTube channel today and you were trying to do the variety of content that I do, it probably wouldn't work. You would need a lot of luck and a lot of other unfair advantages and stuff for that to work. But when you have a clear value proposition or a clear niche, for want of a better word, it's just obvious. It's obvious to viewers what your channel's about and who it's for and who it's not for. And if something is obvious to viewers and they get it, the right sort of person is then more likely to watch this sort of videos because they know that it's the right video for them. If you are, for example, a software engineering graduate and you want to get a high-paying job in tech, Aman's channel is perfect for you. If you're not that person, you don't give a shit about Aman's channel because it's not perfect for you. The way the YouTube algorithm works is that it picks up on signals from viewers. So if a bunch of software engineering students were to click on this video and watch it all the way through and suddenly, take action and watch more of his stuff, the algorithm would realize that, oh, people who are this sort of person, i.e. into software engineering, they watch this sort of channel. And so they're going to promote Aman's channel more to other people who are like that person, other software engineers. So having a clear value proposition really helps the audience decide, is this the sort of thing I want to watch? But crucially, it also helps the audience decide, is this the sort of channel I want to subscribe to? And also, is this a channel that I want to click on the channel page and explore to see what else they might have? Now, one thing that's a really good signal for the YouTube algorithm is when you can extend someone's watch session. YouTube is incentivized in this way because if you keep someone on YouTube for longer and they're having a good time with satisfaction and all that, YouTube can serve them more ads, which is good for the business as a whole. And so everything is all in favor of like, how do we get someone to watch more and more and more videos? And if your channel can be the one that helps people watch more and more and more videos, then it's way more likely to show up on the homepage and in suggested videos and these sort of algorithm features that help channels really take off. Now, in some cases, creators will have a value proposition, but that value proposition is just not going to be that clear. So like last week, I was doing like a live Q&A for our students in the Accelerated program. And one of our students, I'm not going to name names because he might be embarrassed. His channel was a bit all over the place. Firstly, it looked really amateur. Everyone could tell it just looked as if the thumbnails were designed in PowerPoint. So, made some recommendations, creating a mood board, finding a new thumbnail style, etc. But also, his value proposition was just not at all obvious. Like, there's something in the world of marketing called the grunt test. This is often applied to like websites, but it also applies to YouTube channels, which is that if a caveman were to look at your website or your YouTube channel, can they grunt what your channel or website is about, or what is the thing that you offer? This is admittedly hard to do on a YouTube channel where often people don't have the value proposition written in the channel banner, so take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt. It's really obvious for websites. But generally, when you're watching someone's video, you want to get a sense of, oh, okay, this is what this channel is about. And in this creator's instance, it just really wasn't obvious at all. And so he and I had a bit of a back and forth of, like, what do you actually do? Like, what is the point of your YouTube channel? Who is it for? Who's getting lots of value out of it? And turns out he has a bunch of ridiculously high-paying clients who are businesses, and he helps them streamline their operations and processes so that their businesses can grow in a way that's more streamlined and more efficient. And so this guy's value proposition is, I help business owners grow their business. How? Through streamlining processes and operations. And I was like, great, that's perfect. That is a fantastic value proposition. We know who it's for, business owners, and we know what the point is, grow your business, and we know the vehicle that does that, streamlining processes and operations. And this was just not obvious anywhere. It wasn't obvious in the guy's banner. It wasn't obvious in the titles. It wasn't obvious in the thumbnails. It wasn't obvious in the intro. He just never said that. I was like, bro, if you just said that in your videos, my name is X, I've got 15 years of experience as a business coach, and I help business owners grow their businesses through streamlining operations, I'd be like, great, I would subscribe to that channel. If you are not a business, if you're a doctor or an accountant or a student, you would not subscribe to that channel, but you wouldn't even ever see that channel because the YouTube algorithm is not going to serve you that channel. But for the right sort of person, a business owner who wants to make more money while saving time, it is an absolutely perfect value proposition. And so the guy had a value proposition, he just wasn't saying it out loud. And so the thing I generally encourage people to do is state your value proposition out loud. Say who your channel is for and what it does. Now, again, I'm going to give a warning here of like the overthinking warning. This is a very long video. I tend to ramble on quite a lot about this YouTube stuff because I could talk about this forever. This is a very long video. If you right now are at this point in the video, chances are you are a overthinky type person. I'm just going to take a bet. You're probably an overthinky type person. You're probably quite analytical. You're probably very good looking. You're probably very intelligent. You probably have a lot of success in your day job or as a student or like whatever the thing is. Most people who get to this point in these sorts of videos about YouTube seem to be 9-to-5 corporate employee type people. So I'm going to guess that broadly that is you. And I'm going to guess that you have an overthinking problem. And when, the fact that you've watched all this, you're going to be like, oh shit, I have to overthink my thumbnails now. And damn, I've got to think really hard about my hooks. And now all he's telling me I need to have a clear value proposition. I don't know what the hell my value proposition is going to be. I don't even know what my niche is. Man, this is the thing that's been holding me back from making YouTube videos for fucking months or years. I just don't know what my niche is. Maybe I shouldn't even do YouTube at all. Like, again, we can get into this quagmire of overthinking. Again, the point I would make is that starting off just making the videos is the most important thing. It's totally okay for your niche to emerge over time. You don't have to have it nailed from day one. In our YouTuber Academy, we have like a whole 2-hour-long session that goes into this in detail and gives you a bunch of worksheets and templates and examples. But even if you don't want to take the course, you can just think about that for yourself. Who is your target audience and what is the value proposition? Why should someone care about your YouTube channel? Again, please don't let this overthinking stop you from actually making the videos, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind because generally, smaller channels with a clear value proposition are more likely to grow because it's just more obvious to the audience and therefore to the algorithm who it's for and who it's not for. If it helps around the potential overthinking around this, if you take a look at the oldest videos on my channel, you'll see that I had no value proposition for quite a while. I started off with music videos where I wasn't even on camera. Then I started singing. And I tried doing a cover of Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran. And then I started doing travel vlogs where I was, doing vlogs about my elective in Cambodia and Vietnam. Then I did a series on like how to design an app because I was building an app with a friend of mine, which completely flopped. And it was only sort of after a few months of doing YouTube videos and learning the ropes that I landed on the value proposition of, oh, I help people get into med school. And now if you look at my channel, you'll notice I don't help people get into med school because it's been 7 years since then. And it's okay for your value proposition and your niche to change over time. If we look at Amazon, for example, Amazon did not start out as the everything store. They did not start out selling absolutely everything. They started out selling books. After they started dominating the market for books, they expanded out slightly into like CDs and DVDs and videos and stuff, like things that were sort of somewhat book adjacent or like music, or I can't remember what it was. But Amazon did what people call the land and then expand strategy. You land in a particular location, in a particular niche, and then over time you can expand that niche over time. It's very difficult right now, if you wanted to start a business, to be the next Amazon. It's probably not going to happen. But you could probably build a multi-6 or 7-figure business by just selling one thing and selling one thing really well. And then over time, you can slowly expand out the different things that you offer. It's the same thing with a YouTube channel. People love the idea of being a nicheless YouTube channel. Honestly, it's really hard to succeed as a nicheless YouTube channel. If you want to make videos about anything and everything, then that's a destination that often big YouTubers will get to. And even then they could probably grow that. I know I could grow my channel more if I just made videos about growing on YouTube, or if I just made videos about finance. I just choose not to because I like being a variety YouTuber and I like doing a lot of different things. But I did not start out that way. I did not start out trying to be a productivity, personal development, health, relationships, finance, YouTube advice, business advice, guru or guide or anything. I didn't start out with any of that crap. I started out screwing around trying to do music videos and travel vlogs and stuff and realizing, oh, what I'm good at is helping people get into med school. Great. I did 100 videos about that. And then I moved into helping students do better at exams. Hundreds of videos around that. And then I did general productivity. Hundreds more videos around that. It's a land and expand. The niche will evolve over time. Don't let the overthinking stop you from making the videos. But having said that, generally what I find for channels that are on the verge of blowing up or that are in the process of blowing up, they do generally have a clear value proposition. Let's move on to key sign of potential number 4, and that is unfair advantages. Now here, I'm going to use the example of one of the other former students of our YouTuber Academy. Her name is Izzy, and she is also my wife. Incidentally, we got married. We only got together after she finished my YouTube course, so don't worry about it. It's not weird. But Izzy's channel started off with doing a bit of like random stuff, like a video about productivity, a video about sleep, a couple of music videos. But the thing that really made her channel take off is a video on how she learned Mandarin Chinese in 6 months. Now that is what I call an unfair advantage. An unfair advantage is something that it would be very difficult for someone else to copy or replicate. It is very, very, very difficult to teach yourself Mandarin Chinese at all, let alone in 6 months, which is an absolute record time to teach yourself the language in. And the fact that Izzy did all of that work means that she has what in business would be called a moat, a competitive moat around her YouTube channel. For someone else to try and make videos on how to learn Mandarin, they've got to learn Mandarin first. That is an enormous unfair advantage. Unfair meaning that it would take a lot of effort to try and replicate that, or it would be impossible to try and replicate that. Once Izzy's channel started to blow up with the Mandarin stuff, then all of the other general productivity videos started to work. And so that's a good example of the land and expand strategy. You start off growing within a particular niche, and then you can slowly expand out from that niche. In my case, early on in my YouTube journey, my unfair advantage was that I was a medical student at Cambridge University. It's hard to become a medical student at Cambridge University, or so I hear. It is an unfair advantage that is difficult for someone else to replicate. And so, provided that unfair advantage matches my value proposition, if I was singing guitar videos, my value proposition does not match my unfair advantage. I'm a medical student at Cambridge, I suck at singing, I suck at music, and I'm trying to make guitar videos. It's just not going to work. But if I'm a medical student at Cambridge University and I'm teaching people how to become medical students at Cambridge University, you've got a perfect match between the unfair advantage and the value proposition. So in general, again, when we look at all this stuff around like what are the factors that cause YouTubers to blow up versus not, generally there is some sort of competitive advantage that is underlying their YouTube channel and they are leaning into that competitive advantage. At this point, people will often say, well, what if I don't have any unfair advantages? I would say that, firstly, you don't have to have unfair advantages to succeed on YouTube. It just makes it more likely. But also, you probably do. Think of the stuff that you've learned over the last 5 years, or over the last 2 years, or over the last 10 years, or over the last 1 year. Think of the experiences you've had in your life. Those experiences are probably not the experiences I've had in my life. They're probably not the experiences that Izzy or Aman or Elizabeth or Han or Azul or your friends maybe. They're probably experiences that are somewhat unique to you. You can often find your unfair or competitive advantages within that. Again, in our YouTuber Academy, we have a whole worksheet with journaling prompts and everything around how to figure out your unfair advantages. But one important way to think about this is what have you invested hours and hours and hours of your life into that other people might not have done? One of our other former students, her name is Ellie Jean. She is a fashion expert. She's invested hundreds, thousands of hours of her life into understanding women's fashion And so when she did a YouTube channel breaking down women's fashion, and like, she is leaning into that unfair advantage because she already has thousands of hours of experience in that particular field because she was just interested in the topic. I have 184 days of playtime on World of Warcraft, the video game. It's a bit of an unfair advantage. It's nowhere near the thousands of hours that the professional World of Warcraft players have. But the fact that I've spent 200 days of my life playing World of Warcraft means that I'd probably be better at making a World of Warcraft channel than I would a Minecraft channel. I've spent no time playing Minecraft at all. I've also spent hundreds of hours of my time designing websites back from the age of 13 up to the age of 30. Wow, it's been a while. And so if I was starting a brand new YouTube channel, something in the web design space, teaching people how to do web design, would also make sense because I've already got all that experience. So the thing I would ask you is, what could your competitive advantage be? What is stuff that you have potentially invested large amounts of time that other people you know might not have invested all that time into? And can you lean into that in some way for your YouTube channel? Because the more of a foundation of experience you are sitting on, at least for educational content, the more likely that channel is to succeed, at least in my experience. And also, this video is going on super long, but if you're here at this point, I imagine you probably want to hear more rather than hear less, so apologies if the video is going on too long. One thing I find super helpful is to also think about, what is something that you are surprised that other people find hard? Often it's hard to figure out what our own strengths are, but if you think about what surprises you about other people being weirdly bad at, like, what might that thing be? In my case, I'm often surprised that other creators I know and other people I speak to seem to really struggle with creating an online course, and seem to really struggle with the concept of teaching, or like getting up on stage and like doing a talk and doing a presentation. It's like, that's kind of surprising that other people are bad at that. And what I've realized over time is, I'm just like weirdly good at that thing. I can take a concept, break it down, turn it into a 5-step framework, spiel on a video about it for like 60 minutes, do a talk on stage without any prep, and it's just my jam. It's just what I do. But it's really hard for other people. So that is a good unfair advantage to lean into. What is something about you you think is kind of weird that other people are weirdly bad at? And that can often give you an indication as to what your unfair advantage might be. All right, let's move on to the fifth and final key thing, consistency and enjoyment. Now here I want to use the example of Azul. Azul is one of the students in our accelerator program. Again, links down below if you want to check out any of this stuff. Azul is a dude in his 60s, at least I think he's in his 60s. It would be awkward if he's younger than that. So Azul, please, yeah, whatever. Azul is a dude in his 60s who does financial advice videos for other people who are 50 plus. Azul is very consistent with his channel. He's got practically daily uploads, and his videos are very low lift. He just sort of walks around a park and talks to the camera, but the videos don't need to be a high lift, partly because the niche is not saturated. There's not that many people doing content giving financial advice to people in their 50s and 60s and 70s. And so the fact that Azul enjoys the process of making these videos and has been very consistent with it, that alone can often be the thing that makes your channel stand out. Last man standing is a viable strategy. The thing that every single successful YouTuber has in common is that they have been consistent in some ways, sometimes on and off, but generally consistent with their channels. The single biggest risk to your own YouTube channel is you quitting. And that's why if you can find a way to enjoy the process, to make it energizing, enjoyable, and sustainable, you are far more likely to stick it out for long enough to see the compounding effects of YouTube growth. The way to think about it is that essentially every video you put out there, it's like planting a seed, sowing your seed, as it were, in your little garden. Each new video is a new seed. Some of those seeds, depending on the conditions, depending on the soil, depending on the temperature, but whatever, are going to grow very slowly. Some of them are not going to grow at all, but some of them might become trees and might become very big trees that can then support you financially or something. You get the idea. The more of these seeds you put out there, the more likely your chances are that any one of these seeds is going to blossom into a massive tree house that will support you and your family for generations. The question is, how do you get all these seeds to happen? Well, you got to enjoy the process. People will tell you that discipline is more important than motivation, and as long as you're disciplined, then you'll be able to succeed. I don't know. I've never met a YouTuber who has succeeded, who has got there through discipline, through like whipping themselves and telling them, no, I must do this, even though I don't feel like it. Every YouTuber I know who has succeeded and stayed consistent for months to years to the point where it becomes successful has found a way to enjoy the process. They're talking about something they enjoy, they're doing it in a way that they enjoy, they're potentially working with a team that they enjoy. When you enjoy the process of building your business, building your creative business, building whatever you want, it's far more likely to be sustainable, and that is what it takes. Now, a couple of tips on this front. The first thing is that you probably have a job or have had a job at some point that you maybe haven't quite enjoyed, which is why you're maybe thinking of doing YouTube, because you're like, oh, if this can make money, I could potentially one day quit my job and stuff. That's, fortunately the position I'm in. I started YouTube not intending to quit my job. 3 years later, I ended up quitting my job because I was making like over $1 million a year from my YouTube channel, which is kind of cool. But the key thing is, you do not want your YouTube channel or your creator business to become another prison. You do not want it to become like your 9-to-5, where you kind of don't look forward to Mondays and you kind of dread doing it. You want it to be fun, because otherwise, what the hell is the point? You may as well just had a job and been a lot less stressed, right? So this is why It's a big part of why enjoyment of the process is really important. What the hell is the point if you're not going to have fun along the way? And two practical questions that I ask myself very often when it comes to things I'm struggling with my YouTube channel, my creator business, managing my team, any of that kind of stuff, is two things. Number one, what would this look like if it were easy? And number two, what would this look like if it were fun? I even have what would this look like if it were fun as like my wallpaper. Yeah, but finding a way to make the process fun makes the whole thing energizing, makes the whole thing sustainable, and means that you're not like creating a new prison for yourself. Okay, so if you've gotten to this point in the video, chances are you're going to get a lot of value out of our YouTuber course. We have our YouTuber Academy. We have a new course for complete beginners coming out soon, depending on when you watch this, called YouTuber Foundations, our 7-video challenge. We also have our accelerator program. So if you're an established creator or a business owner looking to use YouTube to drive leads for your business, the accelerator program is amazing. You get one-on-one support and coaching calls and stuff from my team. And basically the idea is that with YouTuber Academy and with our accelerator, the goal is to save you time on the journey of growing a YouTube channel, because chances are you value your time, and your time is in a way more valuable than your money because you have things to do, and time is our most valuable non-renewable resource. So if you've gotten to this point in the video, you're probably the sort of person that would get a lot of value from our courses or from our accelerator program. There'll be links down in the video description if you want to check them out. And if for whatever reason you want to see more content from me about growing on YouTube, check out this video over here, which is a video I did recently about my honest advice for people starting out on YouTube. So if you're a beginner, in that video, I'm going to introduce you to the 2x2 matrix for how to think about motivations around YouTube and a bunch of other concepts. So check out that video. Thank you so much for watching this absolute mammoth of a video, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye-bye.